All right, that means we're live.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, everyone. Okay, so what typically happens is that everyone coming in the room, we're fortunate enough to get to see y'all. Y'all are just going to see us. So, what I like to do, the way I start every webinar is by going into our chat. I'm going to ask that everyone goes into the chat. It'll default to say to hosts and panelists, toggle down and say to everyone, and then say where you're joining from. So I'll say hi from
Yep.
Bozeman, Montana. Everyone else, go ahead and do the same. Test out your chat. Great way to make sure that's working. And we'll give you a moment to say where you're joining from.
Amazing.
Toronto, Vegas, Austin.
Here we go. A couple California. Hello, hello.
Palm Springs. Ooh, talk
Wow, a
about
lot of
hot weather.
California. Yeah. Austin, hello. Oregon, hi. For those who are just joining, we are using our chat functionality. We're just toggling over to everyone and saying where we're joining from. We've got like heavy on the West Coast repping right now, which I
I
like.
was I was just gonna say that, but Amelia and I are repping the Midwest. We're
That's
coming
right.
at you from Iowa, so we're trying to balance it out over here.
That's right. That's
Not a
right.
single East Coaster yet.
I know.
If you're
We
from the
need,
East Coast, get in the chat.
seriously. And Texas, we usually have quite a few from Texas. So I want to see y'all say where you're joining from. Don't be too shy and jump on in.
Hmm.
Awesome. All right. Well, everybody is coming into the room. Okay, we got Georgia. We
Woo!
love it. Finally, we're getting further east. I love to see it. And there we go. We got our Texas. Awesome. Okay, well, I am going to go ahead and get us started. You can always keep adding into the chat throughout the whole session. But wanted to give y'all a preview of what tonight is going to look like. I'm going to introduce myself in Backflip. I'm going to give a quick introduction and hand it over to Grace and Amelia. They are going to share slides, present, and then open it up for Q&A. What I always like to say is that this is really y'all's time. So if you want to take advantage of this time, I encourage you to do so. Utilize the chat throughout the session. You can put questions in the chat. You can put them in Q&A throughout the entire session, and we'll make sure we get to those. So ask away. These two are gracious enough to give us their time, their expertise, and so there are no bad questions that can be asked. So utilize the time. My name is Mariah. I am head of marketing, go-to-market here at Backflip. I've been here for almost 4 years. I am excited to be partnering with these two again. Um, we've been fortunate enough to do in-person and virtual partnerships, so it's really it's been a fun 4 years to be working together. In terms of Backflip, what is Backflip? For those of you who already know us, hopefully you know that we are a lender. So we're a hard money lender. We offer financing in 44 states across the US. I think last time I talked about the fact that we have a DSCR product, which is great for long-term rentals. The most exciting update that I'll give y'all a preview on is that we changed our credit policy. Finally. Yay! We're so excited. Our investors have been asking for this for a long time. You used to only be able to have a hard credit pull that lasted for 90 days. And as we all know, your credit can take a little bit of a hit if you're doing hard pulls more frequently. Now, at Backflip, it'll last for 365 days. So, yay! When your credit is better, you do better, your rates are better, and we can fund you for more deals. So that's the exciting side on the update on the lending side. Other things to note, at Backflip, we have a free app that is a opportunity for you to get access to comps in your area. Think of it as like the MLS in your pocket. So you type in your address, it comes back with relevant comps, and it gives you the after repair value. Gives you that gut check of whether or not it's going to be something you need to pursue further or, quickly move on. I'm going to post the link to that in the chat. If you don't already have it, please download that. Like I said, it's free. You can use it and also give us feedback. the last thing that I want to chat about for Backflip is our community. The thing I'm most biased about because I love it, I lead it, and it is about almost 120,000 folks in the Backflip community all across the US. We do both in-person and virtual programming. We want to be your network, your resource, and your education to help you scale your real estate investing. Last but not least, I will say I have another teammate in here joining me. Her name is Yvonne. She's fantastic. She is based in Boston. She is here to answer all of your questions in the chat throughout the session. So if you need to ask questions about where we lend, who we lend to, what's our minimum credit score, can you lend on rural deals? I don't know. Whatever questions that you have, Yvonne is in the chat. She'll answer all of those questions specific to Backflip. So, without further ado, I am so excited to introduce Grace and Amelia, incredible investors who run a women investing in real estate community. They're authors. They are incredible. They are fantastic thought leaders. And tonight's topic around scaling is going to be really, really engaging. So I am so excited to hand it over to you both for the
Yeah.
session.
Thank you, Mariah. We're excited to be here. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And Amelia is going to take it away tonight. As Mariah said, ask questions in the chat. We're looking at it. Don't make us talk up here for an hour. Let's make this engaging. So if it's on your mind, ask it.
Yeah, you're going to get more out of this the more engaged you are. We've done webinars for Backflip before, and in the last webinar, this is so funny. We were wearing the same shirt basically, but different
Yeah.
colors. And the joke was that we were two M&Ms. I see that we've managed to pull that off again tonight.
Again.
Yes. So just had to point that out if you were on the last webinar.
Same way, yeah, same wavelength, you two.
Yeah, we sure do. But we like being real. We like keeping it real. We like to say we take our businesses seriously, but don't take ourselves too seriously. So we're real life investors with decent sized portfolios. So if we can do it, you can do it. But congrats to you. You took time out of your Wednesday evening to show up with us. That means you're serious about investing. I'd love to know a little bit more. I know that we already shared our locations in the chat, but I would love to know how many properties you're at. If you're just getting started, share a little bit of info about your portfolio in the chat because that's going to help us be able to speak to the type of investors that we have in the call tonight. So share with us in the chat. But if you've never met us before, I'm Amelia. This is Grace. We own over 70 rentals combined between the two of us. We invest separately, but we're both from Iowa and invest in Iowa. We've been doing this actually, we need to update this, Grace, because I feel like we've been investing for the last 6 or 7 years now at this point. And over those 6 or 7 years, we've helped thousands of investors invest in real estate, scale their businesses sustainably, create systems and processes. And so we're so passionate about talking about that. We have helped 200,000 listeners on our weekly podcast. So we know that those numbers are factual. So we're excited to share some of our knowledge tonight.
Yeah, and a little bit about who we actually are. I'm Grace Gudenkauf. I live in Tucson, but I invest in Iowa. Everything I own is within a 15-minute radius in eastern Iowa, where I was born and raised. I'm doing new construction right now, but I've done BRRRRs, single family, small multifamily, midterm rental, long-term rentals. So I have done a little bit of everything, as has Amelia. And when I'm not working, I will either be reading or hiking in the Tucson mountains or listening to some good music on my patio, maybe doing a little bit of yoga. But I've been investing since 2020. And I think one thing that has set me apart as an investor, and Amelia as well, is I am a sponge. If you are teaching something or have a lesson to share, I'm going to soak it up and learn it for myself. So if you're here tonight, we're going to share a lot about real deals in our community, real deals we've done, tips, soak it up, and ask all the questions.
Mhm. And I only see one brave soul, LC, who commented in the chat that he or she, I guess, has done 3 fix and flips this year, but they just started. That's incredible. 3 flips in 1 year, and you're just getting started. I love it. Someone else be brave and share with me what they're up to. But I'm Amelia McGee, the other co-founder. I live and invest in Des Moines, Iowa, and I've been investing since 2019. I have 41 doors that are a mixture of midterm, long-term, short-term, and I've always known that I was going to be self-employed. I never wanted to work for somebody else for the rest of my days. So when I figured out real estate investing was the path to being an entrepreneur, I went all in on it. And I joke that I have way too many hobbies to not be self-employed. So my goal with real estate investing is to have the smallest but mightiest portfolio that didn't buy me another full-time job. So I really, really love traveling, reading, exploring, playing games, pretty much doing anything other than sitting at my desk all day long. And
Anything but working.
anything but working. Grace and I like to joke that I'm already retired because I've recently hired out multiple different aspects of my life. So yeah, I'm all about living life to its fullest.
Hmm.
And if you've never heard of Wire Women Invest in Real Estate before, that is also our company. Our aim is to help you become W-2 optional through real estate investing so you can live a life by your own design. We have our yearly membership. We've done over 200,000 podcast downloads. We've done 12 sold out retreats across the US. We have courses and boot camps, monthly meetups, and so much more. Also, did we mention, Grace? I know that Mariah mentioned it, but we are the co-authors of the BiggerPockets book, The Self-Managing Landlord. So if you're familiar with BiggerPockets, we also wrote a book for them that we're really proud of as well.
If you like systems, that's a great book that talks a lot about systems.
hmm But today we're going to be talking about scaling in today's market. And I see a few other people in the chat have said they've done rentals and new construction, getting back into real estate. Andy has 7 buy and hold, 18 doors. Ernest has a fix and flip, and Casey has 23 properties. Amazing. I love that. So we've got some experienced investors in the chat. And then I also saw Eddie asked, how are we exiting deals? Which I love because we're really big on not holding everything forever and selling things if the time is right. So we can talk about that later. But we're going to be talking about how to compete in today's market, how to build systems and not stress, and how do you fund in today's market? How do you fund when you run out of your own money?
Hmm. Yeah, and starting off with how to compete in today's market, it is no longer the 2020 craze of 3, 4% deals. We know that deals are not happening as quickly, as easily, flips aren't selling as quickly. It's a little bit competitive out there. There's higher rates and home prices, which makes it the entry points into real estate competitive. But here's the thing I want to remind you all. If real estate was easy, everybody would do it, and there would be no point in investing in real estate because there would be no benefit because every single person owns a rental property. So there is a reason that it's a little bit hard. That doesn't mean you can't do it. And we're going to give some tips of what we're seeing of people who are still getting in there, making competitive offers and making stuff happen in today's market. So some other points. This is not a get rich quick scheme. Really, right now, you need to focus on the long-term vision. No longer are you going to analyze deals where you're only looking 1 year out. We're going to be looking at buying things that maybe make more sense 3, 5, 7 years out. That doesn't mean you should buy bad deals, but it means that you need to further consider your total return and your long-term return. Multiple exit strategies are vital in today's market. I think Casey mentioned rent to own, rentals, flipping, creative financing. There's so many things that you can do to make sure that you still have those exit strategies. And then, biggest and most of all, consistency, creativity, and speed is what is going to help you win in this market. It's not the person who's casually scrolling Zillow and sends a million different listings to the realtor and moves on none. It's the people out there who are making hard and fast offers and tweaking and tweaking and tweaking and not giving up. And I'm going to show you a little bit of a story of how this is working out in real life. So there's a gal in our community named Jennifer. She she is in a competitive, high price market. Amelia, I believe it's just outside of New York City in Connecticut, where these homes are $1 million. These are not $200,000 homes, right? There's a lot on the line, a lot of stress, a lot happening. And here's what she learned over putting in offer over offer and offer and getting rejected, rejected, rejected. Is she refined how to analyze so quickly, narrow down her buy box, and be really freaking quick about getting an offer out the door because she didn't give up. She was putting in the reps. So what happened is she actually found this house in this picture and was first to offer on it, first to put something in, wrote a strong, no inspection, no contingency offer. She offered $100,000 under the list price, added a love letter, but because she was prepared, confident, and concise with her deal, she actually scored this deal after months of striking out on other deals. So those are the type of investors we're seeing win, is people who aren't giving up and are willing to stay creative and fast on their offers. So this could absolutely be you. If you feel like you're striking out in today's market, don't give up. Take this all as learning opportunities to get quicker and faster with your and more confident with your offers.
I'd also say being a problem solver. Oh, wait, was that kind of what the next slide was a little bit about, Grace? Is the people that we see win in real estate are problem solvers and they're pivoters. They are doing pirouettes all over the place. They're willing to put in the reps, put in the work. If you're not a problem solver, if you stick your head in the sand when stuff goes wrong, oof, it's going to be tough to invest in real estate. Not saying that you can't do it, but you have to be willing to get in there and get your hands dirty. So,
Mhm.
Grace, I'll let you keep it up.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a little bit about what does it look like exactly in today's market to continue to have success purchasing properties and buying deals. But it's not just that. We're also going to talk about building systems, not stress, because we know when you operate like a CEO and you're out of the mom and pop mindset, you have systems to fall back on. You're going to clear up more time, effort, and energy to be able to put those offers out there, do more business, and have more success in real estate. And what that looks like is trading chaos for consistency. We talk about this a lot about at Wire in our own portfolios is the chaos is when you're doing the same thing every single time, maybe a little bit differently. You don't have anything written down. You're always going back to the drawing board. You don't have any SOPs, like Jennifer in the example I showed you. She was probably writing stuff down so that she was very quick. She knew exactly what her realtor needed from her in order to send one text to get the offer written. It wasn't her and her realtor going back 100 different times over what entity is it and when was closing date and what were the inspections. So building systems by being the CEO of your business is going to help you succeed. That's creating SOPs. That's thinking about how to not recreate the wheel, do something once, and how can you repeat it without having to think through SOPs. And not doing the sit and think, which I always say is when, let's say you buy a property, or in this example with Jennifer, she sees a property she likes, and instead of going to her SOP that tells her exactly how to analyze it and what to look out for, she's thinking, okay, now how do I start over here again and try to analyze this from scratch? Don't do the sit and think. That's not what we want you to do. Building on a little bit more with systems. Does anybody here have SOPs in their business? Put yes or no in the chat. I want to
And for
know.
anyone that's like, what the hell's an SOP? I don't know that acronym. We like to use acronyms. It's a standard operating procedure. So you might have them in your job. They might be called something differently, but that is what an SOP is if you've not heard of that.
Yeah, it's a procedure that tells you how to do something. Most people in their job have them, whether they're called SOPs or not. Nicole says working on it. This is one thing that's going to set you investors apart when it comes to longevity of your business. If you can get out of recreating the wheel sooner rather than later, you have more time to work on your business, buying the next deal, raising private money, forging a relationship with a great lender like Backflip, instead of constantly doing all the little things that just take up your time, effort, and energy. Eventually, you're going to have a master SOP list that looks like this. At the bottom, I have different departments, but this isn't going to happen day one. Just start with one SOP. Maybe it's writing an offer or analyzing a deal or actually acquiring a property. What are all the things you have to do when you acquire a property? And it can start as a bullet point list, but this ends up becoming the key to running your business. It tells you how to do something because most of us are solopreneurs, meaning we're the least productive employee of the company. We are the hardest employee to wrangle. So how can we write procedures that tell us what to do so we don't always have to make new decisions, gut decisions, act reactively, but just follow a predetermined list of what we need to do so we stay efficient. Anything to add there, Amelia?
I would say that you should start this before you think that you need them, because one of our biggest regrets when we started investing was we were like, well, for me, I was like, oh, I own one property. Granted, my first property I bought was a triplex, but I was like, I don't need an SOP. Like, I'm smart, I'm competent, I've got a good memory, I can just keep everything in my head. Well, I quickly scaled to like 15 doors within 6 months because I became addicted to real estate once I realized it was my ticket out of corporate America. And by that point, like retroactively going back and creating SOPs is so much more work than just creating a simple checklist. Grace and I are notorious. We used to be notorious for getting to the closing table and forgetting to have the utilities put in our name, or, oh shit, I forgot to get the insurance policy. All those little things that go into a closing that you don't think about because there's a million other things to think about. That is what an SOP is for.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like you said, it's easier to do it sooner when you have the time because you're
Mhm.
not busy managing 15 properties or 20 properties. And it could literally be a bullet point list on your phone. Anything is better than nothing. Just get started with those SOPs, and that's going to help you succeed in today's market.
I
Um,
have one last thing to add, Grace. I can't type in the chat, but if Mariah would be so kind, we actually have an SOP template that you can download on our website, and it's got a master SOP list. So that is a great starting point for you. You can go ahead and put your email in and get that delivered right to your inbox. So Mariah will hopefully drop that in the chat for everybody.
cool. Um, another another piece of systems, your software. One of the biggest bang for your bucks is a property management software. We recommend TurboTenant. It really doesn't matter what you use. We just want you to use one. I believe TurboTenant is between 10 and 20 bucks a month, and it will do everything that you need it to do when it comes to managing your properties. It's going to automate your fees, your transaction, your rent payments, streamline maintenance. It'll help you create a separation between you and your business so that your tenants aren't calling your cell phone number on a Friday night. You have got to have a property management software so you can give yourself the space to focus on buying other deals in today's market or doing something else in your business that's going to move the needle forward. And then I also want to talk about another thing that's going to help you succeed in today's market as it's ever changing is we talked a little bit earlier about looking at longevity and looking at total return when it comes to thinking about the deals that you're buying. This was a deal that I bought. I'm going to tell you how I bought it in a second, but here was the deal. I bought it for $70,000. I put 36 into it. It appraised for 130. So I got the actual loan from my cash out refinance was $104,000. So that meant I got to repay myself almost everything that I put into this property minus about $3,000. So I with cash only spent about put $3,000 into this property. It rents for 1,300. The pity was 837. After saving for 15% for capex repairs, all the good stuff, maybe $300 a month in cash flow. Not going to change your life when you look at it on a per property basis. But there were a few other reasons that I really wanted to purchase this deal, mainly the fact that I only had to put $3,000 of my own money into it. And one of the biggest reasons I actually was able to purchase this deal was because of follow up. I have a follow up system where I make sure I am looking at the leads who I'm talking to every 30 or 60 or 90 days, going back out to those people and reminding them that I exist, that I have an offer, and then I want to purchase the deal. This property, a realtor sent it to me It was way too high price for what I wanted, but I had bought the house, two houses down, so I knew exactly what price point I was targeting. I kept following up with her, and I think it was like 4 or 5 months until their seller was willing to come down into my price point, and I was able to purchase the property, renovate it, and have a perfect BRRRR. I still own this property today, and I think this was about 2 years ago that I bought it. So all that to say, another system that investors need is dependable deal flow and follow-up. So you could use a system like Monday. It could literally be a Google sheet where you just track who are all the people I'm talking to, what are the addresses I have in my head, and how can I actually make sure that I stay on top of them? Because we know that follow-up is key. Has anybody here had a deal that they got from follow-up? Amelia, you have any good stories from follow-up?
Yeah, for sure. One of my favorite deals was a landlord that reached out to me because if you get known in your market, people start to come to you. He said, I'm kind of tired of this whole real estate thing. I'm looking to get out of it. Would you be interested in buying this triplex from me? Great triplex, really nice condition. Was the only rental he really owned, so he spent a lot of time on it. Plus, it had garages for each unit, which is really abnormal in the market that I'm in. So I went and looked at it. It was great. He wanted a certain price for it. I was like, there's no way I can buy it at that price. And that's the thing too, is when you're not desperate to buy deals, you can say no because you know another deal is going to come along. So I said, I can't buy it at that price. I would not make any money off of it. And that's really important to me. There's no BRRRR strategy with it because it was in great shape. There's not a really huge appreciation play in that market either. So it was, whatever. A few months later, he emails me. He's asking me all these questions about how I handle managing tenants because he knows that I wrote the book on self-managing for BiggerPockets. Because while I was at the property, we were shooting the shit. That's my favorite thing to do with sellers. We were shooting the shit. I told him about that book. He was like, "What's your book again? I want to buy it because I'm really just tired of dealing with tenants. I want to be more efficient." And so I emailed him back and I said, "Look, instead of answering all of your questions, it really sounds like you're just tired of being a landlord. And I know I mentioned seller financing before. I know that you don't owe any money on this. Like this could be a great deal for me and for you. I could buy it at this price. I could pay you this percentage and all the things." And he said yes. So knowing also your seller's pain points, which his was being a landlord and dealing with tenants, can go so far. And be willing to shoot your shot and be willing to say no. And then when they follow up and you follow up back, shoot your shot again.
hmm I have one deal where I've been following up for like 4 years. And at this point, it's like just my own inside joke of like, how long can I just remember that I need to text Jeff, the eightplex seller, to see if he's willing to sell? He hasn't replied in years. But follow up people, that is how you win as an investor. So if it's a Google sheet, if it's a note in your phone, or if it's a nice deal flow like this, it doesn't matter. As long as you have a system that works for you, you will get more deals if you have a follow-up system.
I would also add, Grace, because this is all about how to keep scaling. Be easy to work with. People like to work with people they like. If you are an absolute bear, you're not going to get deals sent to you. My attorney sends me deals. My realtor obviously sends me deals. My banker will send me deals. If he knows if someone's selling before it ever hits the market, he'll send it to me. Like, be easy to work with all the touch points because you never know who's going to send you a deal.
That's great advice. A few other things about scaling, systemizing. I'm not going to go super far into this, but time management is huge as entrepreneurs. It's really hard to get yourself to stick to business boundaries, have a routine, and not constantly be multitasking and flipping through tasks and almost looking for a dopamine hit of an easy task to accomplish instead of avoiding the hard work. So spend a little time thinking through the different hats that you wear in your business and see if you can pre-schedule the timing of those things on your calendar so that you can be productive. My best tip is pay your bills once a week. Put an hour on your calendar, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever you need, and don't allow yourself to task switch by paying bills multiple times throughout the day or the week. Save them all for once a week, and you will start to see your time come back to you and your efficiency come back to you. All right, Amelia, this is probably the best one. I'm excited to talk about this.
Yes, a little known fact about investing in real estate, unless you're, what is it called when you have some sort of a fund from your family, Grace?
An inheritance, like
Yeah, but is
a
it like a, what's that
oh my
word?
God, I'm brain
Mariah,
farting.
do you
Like a
know?
like a trust
Trust
fund?
fund.
Yes.
A trust fund. Oh
Thank
my
you,
Clearly
gosh.
none of
Thank you,
us
Mariah.
I kept
none of us
wanting to
had
say hedge fund.
one.
Gosh, it's
Hedge
the end of
fund.
the day. You guys, you know I don't like working. It's past my working hours of noon to 3 p.m. I'm just kidding. But yes, unless you are from a trust fund or you just have a ton of money sitting somewhere, eventually you're probably going to run out of your own money and you're going to have to get creative on how you can keep buying properties because a lot of you are investors and you know that once that cash flow, that monthly rent check hits your inbox, you are addicted. You got that dopamine hit and you're ready to buy your next deal. So at Wire, we talk a lot about we are bigger than the banks. There are more options for us out there than the banks. There's DSCR lenders, there's seller financing, there's private money lending, there's so many other options. So we got to get creative if we want to keep buying properties.
And we don't let the bank say no. When
Oh
somebody
no.
says no, you keep asking and you find somebody that will say yes.
When somebody says no to me at a bank, I go to the other bank and I say, "This bank was going to give me this percentage. Can you beat that?" And they want the competition. They want the business. So, yeah, lenders are a dime a dozen at small banks. You go to the next one if you can't get approved somewhere. But that's not to say that your credit doesn't also need to be decent and all the things. I'm not saying it's super easy, but there's options if you're a problem solver. So, Grace, I don't know how much we want to talk about creative financing. We'll definitely go into a little bit of detail, but wow, we could do hours worth of
Hmm.
a presentation on just creative financing. But these are the
We
types
have
of,
some resources on the next slide, so just stick
yeah,
with the high level.
these are the type of deals that are kind of, they're great deals if you can get them. These can make 0% down deals or very little down deals possible. They can be much more flexible than traditional financing, and they can help you scale with less capital. However, you're going to have to put in work to find these deals. And this is someone from the Wire community who was able to find an amazing creative deal, but she put in a lot of work and she put in a lot of time with the seller because there were multiple people making offers on this house because the sharks out there knew that this was a great investment opportunity. So she was able to get a home for $82,000. She seller financed a huge portion of it, $55,000 at 0% interest. She ended up just really clearing the property out and just doing very minimal work. She used a HELOC for the portion that she needed to bring to the deal, which that's another way to be creative. Do you have equity in other areas that you can pull? And she sold it for 180,000. She didn't even go through the full rehab, and she was using the Wire community as a resource to decide, is it even worth it for me to spend way more money, do the full rehab and maybe make the same amount, or should I just get out now? And she made 77,000 before tax off of this property. So that's just an incredible story of one, being likable, and two, like staying diligent, stay following up. She followed up with the seller forever. Those deals are out there.
And another note to self that this wouldn't have been a deal that a regular bank would have funded. So that's why we have to have creative financing, hard money, all the different things in our back pocket so that we can still buy deals in today's market.
hmm Yes, and we have a ton of episodes on creative finance. You can find those at wire.com/podcast. Mariah, if you would be so kind to post that in the chat, you can search creative finance on there, and all those episodes will pop up. But if you're interested in more about that, you can find those there. But our favorite way to finance properties is leveraging small local banks. These are a hidden gem. So if you have not already made connections with a small local bank, you need to be doing this. This is a photo of one of Grace's properties. Grace, you want to tell the story about this property with a local bank?
This is so funny, Amelia. I was just like, wait, is that my property? Like, I don't remember.
I'm like,
This is a
that's definitely
property.
your property. I can
That's my
tell just by the
property.
design.
Yep. That is my property. We did this, I think it was last summer. Again, I live in Tucson, invest in Iowa, so I'm not physically there for a lot of them. We bought this with 0% of our own money, and I'm going to show you how. This is literally the closing statement of our Alta, of the closing statement from the bank. Some local banks will, and some hard money lenders, which we're going to get to, will allow you to fund 100%, especially with low fees. These are relationship based. Even with hard money lenders that maybe have more of a strict guideline, once you get in the door with them, it's about relationships. And we're going to talk about that. But ask your small local bank, do they do construction loans? This is what that was. We pre-appraised the property based on what we said we were going to do to it. We shared a budget. They went in, they said, yes, I do think it will be worth 150,000 after you do this. Here's the money to buy it. And then here is a draw form to request your construction funds throughout the phase of the construction. And my favorite part was how small some of these fees were. So get out there, ask questions, network. There are deals like this where you can be paying very minimal fees to have a deal where you don't have to put any money into it on the front end. It is possible.
Mhm. Or you can find an A+ hard money lender like Backflip that can close deals quickly.
Quick.
Yes, quick. They can move quicker than most other banks. They analyze the same deals every time. The Backflip app is an amazing resource. I know Mariah dropped the link earlier, but using that to analyze flips, I saw a few flippers in here. It can give you obviously you got to do your own due diligence, but it can give you pretty accurate numbers and get you approved very, very quickly if you find an amazing deal that you need to close on fast.
One other thing I'd add is talking about systems. I remember when I started investing in real estate, every time I wanted to analyze a property, I'd pull up in a blank spreadsheet and I'd start going through all my line items. Please do not do that. If anything, use the Backflip app where you hit calculate over here. Where's my mouse? I don't know where my mouse went. And you can go and analyze the actual deal. Again, do not recreate from scratch. Do not recreate the wheel. Use Backflip for the calculations. And then also, you want to make sure that you have good relationships and identified lenders before a screaming hot deal comes into your lap. So go check it out. Look at the app, get pre-approved, see what the process is, talk to somebody at your local bank, at Backflip, at any other lender, so that when there is a good deal in today's market, we know we have to move fast, you'll be able to move quickly on it. There's my mouse.
And then one of our favorites is unlocking private money lending. This is money that you're typically borrowing it from an individual. It's short term, it's not from a large institution. They're typically the lender isn't going to have a bunch of formal underwriting requirements, although a lot of lenders, private money lenders, are getting savvier, especially if they're investors themselves. They might want to see your credit report, they might want to see your reserves in the bank, things like that. But it can be faster, a lot less expensive, and a lot less paperwork than borrowing from an institution. Plus, you get to help someone in your life make money off their money. So a friend, a family member, a coworker, another entrepreneur that you know. It's a great way to spread the wealth.
And fun fact, real estate investors are probably the most prevalent private money lender in general. So where do you need to go to find all those real estate investors and be in a community, whether it's a backflip event, online meetup like this, the Wire community? Don't sleep on that. That is who is private money lenders.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and actually, this leads us really well into a story. We host retreats at the Wire community, and we had a really fun private money lending story happen at one of our most recent retreats. This is actually Jennifer from the very first deal, but this is not about that deal. She met Taylor at the Wire Retreat in Zion and was telling Taylor, I actually want to be a private money lender. I think she had a self-directed IRA or a rolled over 401k or something or another where she was interested in lending. And because she was in a community of real estate investors, she also met other people that were going to be a part of this deal. So this was Michelle. She was not at the retreat, but she comes into this deal because Michelle posted in Wire saying, hey, I'm looking for private money. Taylor saw that post and was like, wait, I just talked to Jennifer. I know that she wants to lend. So why don't I connect these two? So Taylor connected the two, and Michelle and Jennifer hit it off and finalized the deal together. But it didn't end there. Um, but Jen did say, not only was this a lending opportunity to me, but she took on a mentorship role as well. Michelle helped me like understand what's the paperwork, what's the process. And she answered all of my questions about private money lending, which was even more incredible than just doing the deal. But also we had Carla, who was also at the retreat and was roomies with Jennifer. And since Jennifer was working with Michelle, Carla also volunteered and said, hey, I can take a look at this. I am a private money lender. I can look over the deal, the paperwork, and help you out and make sure that all looks good. So they got on a call together. Carla spent over an hour with Michelle or with Jennifer, helping her understand the deal, which made her feel really good about lending to Michelle. And Jennifer says, thank you so much for the wonderful supportive community. And I wouldn't have made this happen without these connections. So it just goes to show that one, private money is out there. It is not something that falls from the sky. There are real people out there who have funds, whether it's a HELOC, an SDIRA, a business lock. They sold a flip and have cash they want to keep moving, but not their own deal. This is not a one in a million shot. When you're in the right group, there is private money to be found. And two, put yourself out there. You don't need to keep it a secret that you want to borrow or lend private money. You don't need to keep it a secret that you are a real estate investor. The more that you put yourself out there, you never know who will connect with you or send you a resource along the way. So that's a little bit about our how to compete in today's market, building systems, not stress, and funding growth in a tight money environment. Some of the secret sauce and great stories that we've learned along the last 12 combined years of Amelia and I investing. And this is what we do inside the Wire community. We teach women who have bought a few deals how to make an actual business out of it so that they can achieve lifestyle design and have a business that works for them and not the other way around. So we are an annual paid community. Our doors are not open right now, but if you want to be the first to know the next time that they do open, you can scan this QR code and put your name on the wait list. And we will make sure to answer any questions, go through this chat, and be an open book for you over the next 15 minutes.
Yay. Amazing. Well, thank you so much to both of you for sharing all of that information. I know we have questions coming through the chat and Q&A. And so yeah, everyone start submitting those questions if you haven't already, and we'll answer those now. Let's take a look. Let's see. Joy asks, do you buy your leads or get them from tired landlords on the MLS or seller finance? So y'all talked about this a little bit, but jumping back into that.
I've not ever paid for a single lead in my entire life.
Wow.
I drive for dollars. I do still buy deals on the MLS. Gosh, Grace, didn't we put this statistic together though? I think both of us we've bought like 75% of our deals off market. Facebook Marketplace, messaging landlords that have for rent listings on Facebook Marketplace. What else, Grace?
I mean, any way under the sun that you can make a deal happen, we've done. But also because we invest in very specific areas. So side tangent, you're not going to succeed in today's market in finding off-market deals specifically if you invest in 6 different markets. You need to be in 1 or 2 and not skipping and always trying to find the perfect market. You need to go deep in one area, and that's how you will find deals, is because you start to build connections. You start to understand where deals are happening, who knows them, who are the wholesalers, and you can move quickly because you know the areas. Like we talked about with Jen, She knew that area so well that she could analyze and make a confident decision in a matter of hours. But same, I've never bought a lead. Our statistic, yeah, I think it was 75 or 80% of our deals we've bought off market, meaning we found it, we closed it, there was no realtor. I think one time I paid like $25 for a Facebook ad and it didn't work. Nothing happened.
Or they came to us. Like we
Yeah,
didn't
and
always, like we're not always the ones finding the deals. Sometimes they're coming to us. Another thing, like if I'm buying on the MLS, I'm trying to think. I've bought a few pocket listings from an agent that knows that I'm a closer. He knows I'm not wasting his time. I only respond to him or deal with him if I know I'm going to make an offer on a property, so I'm not out there wasting his time. The last property I bought was in May. I bought an 11-unit apartment building, and I was on a commercial broker's email list. I happened to get the email for it, and I immediately got a hold of my agent and said, "We need to get in to see this. I want to make an offer right away." So just being a serious buyer, also, I know that's hard if you've not done a deal or if you're just doing your first or second, but as you buy more and more, showing people in your market that you close on what you say you're going to close on, you're going to start getting people referring you deals.
yeah, and that was your biggest deal yet. And you walked it from the time you heard about the deal to the time you wrote an offer was like 3 days. You were
Yeah,
out of town for two of them. And then you
exactly.
got back, walked it, and put an offer in. But
Yep.
that's because
Oh,
you've put in the work for 5, 6 years in one area, consistently doing deals.
Yeah.
Great
awesome.
question.
Let's see. Elsie asked, what made you choose Iowa when you're in AZ? So Grace, that's for you.
When I started investing, I invested in where I lived. I grew up in Iowa. It never occurred to me that you could invest anywhere than your backyard. I ended up moving out of Iowa for my husband's job about 3 years ago, and I actually love it because I don't want to be super hands-on with my real estate. I want to be able to hire out people and leverage people who do things better than me. So I've loved being long distance. So
That's
I didn't
awesome.
choose it.
Yeah. Amelia, you mentioned earlier similarly that you've hired out some things as part of your business. Can you talk a little bit about what you've hired out and why you chose those parts of the business to hire out?
Yeah, I did see someone had their hand raised. Are participants able to come off of mute?
Oh, that's a great question.
Mahala?
Oh, yes, I do have the ability to allow y'all to talk. So if you feel so ambitious, put your hand up and
Brave.
we'll let you.
We'll come back to her
Yeah.
because she had her hand up. But I've self-managed for a long time. I hired it out for a while and I took it back over for the last year and a half. But I just recently hired out to an in-house property manager. And what I mean by that is this person's only doing property management for me part-time, about 10 hours per week. They're also a realtor and they own their own rental properties. So they're taking that off my plate. And then I've just honestly, I've hired out a house manager that's helping me with meal prep and laundry and all those things. And so that was another big hire for me. So
That
I
sounds
came from
awesome.
a family where if you could do it yourself, you did it and you never paid somebody else to do it. And I'm trying to break out of that because it's just not sustainable.
Love that. Love to hear that.
And
Um,
this is also coming from two gals who started DIYing. So if you're
Yeah.
somebody who's DIYing or you feel like you're so in the weeds of the business, with time and with strategic decision making, you can get out of it. You can level up to that CEO where you're not managing it because you have your own employee or you're 1,500 miles away from your properties.
I'm also furnishing 3 midterm rental units right now, and I'm hiring out all of the assembly of the furniture. So that's huge because before I would have just done that all myself, but no more.
no more.
No.
That's really cool that y'all have been able to do that. That's awesome. Let's see. We had some other questions that weren't able to answer, I think, on our last session. Can you talk to us a little bit about a deal maybe you've passed on in the last, you know, 6 months or a year that you might have taken
Mm.
when you were early in your investing and tell us why you decided to pass?
I just did this last week.
Love
I
it.
had a deal, a single family slab home, 3 bed, 1 bath BRRRR, right next to a property I already owned. Um, come upon, come across my desk, and I would have jumped on that 2 years ago. And I felt like I was able to intentionally say, got enough projects. I don't need this deal. The numbers don't quite work. It's not, making my head turn because of how great the price is. So I decided not to do it just because I felt like I've got enough on my plate. And also, I'm focused on new construction multifamily, and I felt that I've outgrown single family renovations. So that's no longer in my buy box, even though that would have been the exact buy box I had
Mm.
2 years ago.
Mhm.
That's cool. It's cool to hear like an evolution of your buy box and why. Oh, cool. 𝗪𝗍 uh said, do you have good resources on MTR implementation?
I would say our podcast has amazing MTR episodes. So if you go to wire.com/podcast and use the search bar to search MTR or midterm, search both because some have midterm in the title, some have MTR. That's a great place. I think BiggerPockets, there's a book on midterm rentals as well. Um, YouTube, just Google search midterm rental. I'm sure a bunch of YouTube videos will pop up.
I
Perfect.
I did want to answer Eddie asked, how are you guys exiting deals nowadays? Retail sales have been very slow in my market. When we were talking about investing for longevity and not like the quick dollar today, one thing that served me really well is as I've had an evolution in my real estate portfolio, the deals that I bought 5 years ago that are no longer in my buy box that wouldn't have worked as flips 5 years ago, but they did work as BRRRRs. Now, after 5 years of debt pay down and appreciation, I can reevaluate that and go, oh, wow, I would make a good chunk of money if I sold this. A tenant's moved out. I have to put a little bit of money into the turnover anyways. It makes sense for me to sell it. So, understanding that, like, whatever you're doing right now isn't just to make you money right now. It's also to make you money 5 years out, 10 years out. So that really was like a light bulb moment for me of if I can buy deals that work right now, they'll only get sweeter with time, as long as I'm able to hold on to them.
Yeah, makes sense. Elsie had a great point here. They said, I feel like I learn from mistakes. Same. Are there any deals you regret and why?
I can genuinely say no, and
Really?
it's for the reason that Elsie it says because I've actually, knock on wood, I've never had a deal. I've never really had a deal that I've lost money on, that any of that. Like I've not had anything horrific happen to me. I hate to jinx myself, but the deals that I've done where I'm like, ooh, I learned a lot. I'm so glad that I did them because I learned a lot. My biggest learning lessons, I would say, are if you're self-managing, is being really diligent about setting boundaries with tenants, having really good systems for how you're communicating with tenants, how you're allowing tenants to communicate with you, what times you're allowing tenants to communicate with you, and what time you're responding to them so you're not training them that you're available 24/7. So I think those are like some of my biggest learning lessons. Is just yeah, the art that is tenant management.
Yeah. For you, the question should have been, do you have any tenants you regret and why?
Yeah, only inherited ones.
Yeah. I have one deal that comes to mind. It was a creative finance deal. And I think that blinded me to just how crappy of a house it was. And so I always tell people just because something's creatively financed does not make it a good deal. It was a $0 down, um, subject to a deal, and I didn't lose money on it. Um, but I came darn close to. And it was a tenant paired with a tenant from hell. The deal, it was a huge house with a massive retaining wall in the corner, and just I did not thoroughly understand all the repairs that this house needed. So don't ever buy a house with a crazy retaining wall. That should be very obvious. But don't let a creative finance $0 down blind you into buying that house.
I'd also say, and you touched on this, Grace, about like selling. Um, as we've evolved in our investing, I think that just narrowing down, like you said, what we're keeping in our portfolio or what we're buying moving forward, like I will never buy a 4 bedroom single family home. It's just not in my buy box. It is not the type of tenant that I want to have. It's not going to make me enough money in the markets that I'm in. Maintenance is really high, and turnover costs on those are super high because a lot of times they have kids and they have pets and they have all the things, right? And so I'm not buying those. I have bought them in the past and they've served me really well, and I'm not buying them anymore. Same thing with older homes. I'm not buying old homes. I won't ever do it, because they're too much. They're too expensive. They might be cheaper, but they're way too expensive. I don't buy single family conversions, so big ass single family homes that have since been converted into individual apartments. I call those like Frankenstein houses. Won't buy those. So just like learning what I really like. I don't want to buy in like C or D class neighborhoods because the tenant type there is just a lot harder to manage. So just like figuring out what I can buy that really requires the lowest amount of effort from me.
Yeah.
And we learned all that from doing. We didn't start out like that. So if you're hearing some of your buy box, first of all, what we do, we have our own risk, market, preferences, strengths, whatever. So don't compare. And also know that, like Amelia said, it's an evolution. Don't forget that. When we first started, we always thought everything I bought, I'd have forever. Now I realize how silly that is because the houses that served me 5 years ago do not serve me today. And you should always be reevaluating your portfolio and making it work for you, not the other way around.
Yep. And if you think this information is useful, we've done 4 years of our podcast. We share a lot of info on our Instagram. Like I shared earlier, the SOP template and just some other freebies that are on our website. But if you're not following us on Instagram, I put it in the chat, which Mariah, you'll have to copy and paste, but it's wire.community with 2 I's. That's definitely where we're most active. So we would love to connect with you in the future on Instagram.
Yeah.
Great call out. The last thing I was going to ask, which is somewhat selfish, is how, I mean, I guess this is probably mostly for you, Amelia, but could be for both. What are the things you've looked for in a property manager, like either like a company or an individual?
Yeah.
I lucked into an amazing one, but I'm like, oh gosh, if I had to do the search again, what would I even do?
I'm not even going to get into a property management company because I don't think that they're very good. They have to
Yeah.
operate on such a large scale that it's really hard to find one that's going to be able to provide your small portfolio and their giant pool of properties they manage and give it the attention it deserves. But if you're going to hire an individual, look for somebody that is very responsive, very organized, can problem solve without needing your input 24/7. That's huge because I don't want to be bothered. I told my property manager anything under $300, don't even tell me. Just fix it and like invoice me. I don't care to know. I trust you to make decisions. Anything over 300, let me know. And then I would say, like for me, the ideal person is like a scrappy younger investor who's also like kind of looking to learn the ropes from me because I find that that's really rewarding as well. So the chance to teach another younger woman real estate stuff.
Yeah. That aligns with exactly who both of y'all are, which is incredible mentors. Awesome. All right, we're almost at time. We did this last time. I do this at most of our webinars. What would y'all say is your key takeaway people should take away from tonight and your one action item?
Ooh, wow, putting the remaining crew on the spot.
Wait, are we supposed to answer or people in the chat?
I want to hear from people in the chat, and if y'all
Okay.
want to answer too, that would be awesome. Here we go. We've got make better boundaries with tenants.
That's a good one.
That's
Such a
huge.
good one.
That's a good one.
Great, great
Good job,
one. Thanks,
Nicole.
Nicole. Grace, Amelia, anything y'all would like to share?
Follow up. Have a follow-up
Follow up.
system.
Be a
Create
problem
those.
solver.
Yeah.
And Google's your best friend too.
Create those
Or
SOPs.
chat. Man, I'm an old school. I grew up Googling everything that I didn't know. And that's when BiggerPockets chat boards used to be really good. But you'd Google any problem and a BiggerPockets chat from 5 years ago would pop up and it'd have all the info you need. But yeah, Google and chat, your best friends. Don't buy
Agreed.
D class as your first rental. Eddie, I hope you didn't have to learn that lesson yourself.
Ah, so good. Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for being here. Always a pleasure. Everyone go ahead and follow these lovelies on Instagram. We'll send out the recording and we'll send out links in the follow-up email as well, so you can make sure that you continue to listen to their podcast and get all of their amazing insights. Thank you both so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Mariah
Thanks,
and
Yeah.
Backflip.
everybody.
Thanks all.